speak to you as Hannah's child on these videos. Hannah's child is the builder of the terminal, that place where the building of the family of man ends and the building of the family of plural gods begins, and that takes us all the way back to the beginning of time into the silent void. That will make more sense to you after this introduction and after you've watched a few videos. I want to give you a way of understanding what my videos are about. Because these are not just random stories that I've made up. They are stories taken from the ancient scrolls, 3,000-year-old scrolls, from which the King James Bible was translated. And the letters, numbers, and word meanings themselves are what tell the story. So I want to make that very, very clear. You will not recognize the stories in relationship to King James, I'm quite sure, because I'm not using the King James words. So to help you understand how that works, trying to give you this overview. Now, if you haven't seen my other videos yet, you will, and you'll see Little Bird. Little Bird is with me. She was there present at the birthing of the human kingdom and oversaw the pregnancy and has been watching over the human kingdom ever since. So she's my cohort and you will see her often. What we want to talk about is the source of the stories. King James was translated in the 1600s, and it stands on its own merit if we leave it alone. In the 1800s, this document, James Strong's Concordance, was done. It took a lifetime to take every single word in the King James and document its language, tell us what that language, that word meant, and then gave us all of the words used in King James to convey that meaning. And you will see that slide on the computer or on the video at some point in time. So this is a primer. And a primer is water that you pour into the pump to prime it. And when you take King James and you pour it into this numbering system, this is a strong pump, and it will pump up all the word meanings of the original text. And if we leave them intact with each other in the stories as they were laid out, they reveal what's really happening. Now on this screen you'll see Genesis 1. That is really the first united ox head. And that is what the red heifer logos is all about. The united ox head, the red heifer sacrifice is carrying the one ox head of all the unified energy fields of all time and all creation. And the fires burn up all the ashes of misinterpretations, blah, blah, blah. As stated many times, and you will see this over and over again, this is the master ship Egypt. The master ship Egypt was formed in Pharaoh's house, which is really the great house in land. And then out of this master ship came all the kingdoms of the world. The plant, the animal, the metal, all the kingdoms. And the final kingdom to be birthed was the human kingdom, which is destined to be the master ship kingdom, the kingdom that masters itself. That is what Genesis, that is what first, the whole 50 chapters is about. Building the master ship, and inside the master ship is the womb of the human kingdom being formed. So on the screen, you'll see a snap of Genesis 1, which means first, 50 chapters of first. And all the markings on there are taking out all the added grammar words. Because English enforces gender. It's its nature. And once we enforce gender, we're stuck with it. And the first thing you will see in going back into the original scrolls is there's no gender. And there is no gender because there's no people. And even, I think, even in the rest of the scrolls, there's not really, there are examples of people, but we give them far more power than is really intended. It's a description of the human nature, and we see that human nature is common to us all. We all have different aspects of that and exhibit that in different ways. So I think you can see on the screen there is a word that's highlighted in red. That is a female word. Not highlighted on that particular screen is a male word. Important thing to understand is neutral, the function of neutral words, male words, and female words. And James Strong will identify for you which words are male and female or neutral. Most words are neutral, simply means we're in a neutral position, deciding whether we're going to go forward or backward, right or left, up or down, depending on what kind of a vehicle we're in. And that's their function. But we find different forms of a same word. We might find a neutral form, a female form. Those two are pretty interchangeable. We'll rarely find a male word. So the first male word in the ancient scrolls in Genesis, because Job is older, so we're not addressing that oldest one in this particular setting. The first male word is water. And a male word is something that is something that's been recalled, remembered, and put into a form. Now this particular male form is water, and it is an Egyptian gomer also, because it contains 3 parts. And when you have 3 parts that are connected together, and in this case air energy bonds hold 2 oxygens or 2 hydrogens and oxygen together, that is a completed form. That's a very important principle to understand. The male form was ice because it was cold and dark. The first female word that appears is a mass. Now a female word is something that's open, punctured, generating, it's something's happening, it's active. And the first female form, first female word is mass. It's the mass of ice melting. The male form is the ice, the female melting is the active part of that. Well, where did that gomer come from? That gomer came out of the dark silence, and what we have is a gas. We know today that when you take the hydrogen gas and you explode it, you get an atomic explosion, you get heat, light, and water. That is exactly what's in the first united ox head. When those 2 gases are bound by an energy force, they created the form. That principle never ends. That is a principle, and it's a key element to understanding those original scrolls. If we don't apply those principles, then we get lost in a gray area that we can never figure out what's going on. We're not going to say any more about that. You'll hear more about it on the videos and in the tapes. I want to look at this in a couple of different directions to lay the foundation. I'm going to put up on the screen a word. And the number happens to be 1121 in James Strong's Concordance, so you can go look it up if you want. And that word means builder. Well, as you can see on the screen, there are quite a few different words translated in King James as builder. And amongst them is Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, daughter, son, and a plethora of words. I'm using this example simply to tell you that you cannot take any single word in King James and know what its meaning is. You have to look at every single word and put the meanings together from there. And when we lump one meaning into the word son, and we make everything the son as if it's gender, we've lost the whole meaning. So we have to do away with gender, and we have to do away with people, especially in first. First is the development in the womb of the human kingdom, and it is birthed out as this female word, these trebled, translated Exodus, because that is the point of birthing.